Hello everyone, are we ready? Then let's get down to business and let's start the following session of this fantastic Hydrogène Week, the session dedicated to education, training and outreach. My name is Alberto Garcia. I work as a project officer at the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, and together with Katarina Muse from Hydrogen Europe, we are going to moderate this session. I will kick off the session with few slides just to set the scene, and then we will call 5 speakers today, and more importantly, we have surprise, and at the end we have a very good announcement from one of the speakers. Hold on and you will see. So first of all, I wanted to just highlight that we all agree. It doesn't work. Is that the direction maybe? There we go. I think we all agree that education and training is one of the pillars that underpins the modern society. And indeed in Europe in general, we are taking care of education and training activities from the beginning. I just wanted to highlight 2 initiatives from the Commission. First is the one related with the European Skills Agenda, which is a plan, a 5-year plan that was launched 4 years ago with 12 actions in order to boost and reinforce how we address the skills at the European level. For example, last year was the skills year, just to give you an idea. And the other action I wanted to highlight is the ones recently announced by the DG GROW of the Commission related with the Net Zero Industry Acts. I'm pretty sure that Daniela from DG GROW, one of the panelists later on, will provide additional information. On the JU, what we do? We take very seriously indeed education and training at outreach, because we believe that one of the essential elements to for the rollout of these technologies is to train, to educate, and to raise awareness. And both education and outreach activities are complementing the research and innovation within the program. We are supporting a variety of projects on education, particularly within the cross-cutting issues area. But on top of the research and innovation actions, or the projects that we support, let's say action grants, we call it, there are many other activities that are conducted either through my colleagues in the communication team. Let's see the Hydrogène Week. They've been heavily involved in this kind of organization of the events to raise awareness, to share all together knowledge on hydrogen, and as well from my colleagues from knowledge management, which are gathering the data, making this data available in a digestible manner. No? Just to give you an idea, within education and training, as I said, it's part of the cross-cutting activity, and over the last year we've been supporting almost 80, if I'm mistaken, 54 projects in this category for 80 million. In particular in education, we've been supporting 16 projects over the last years, involving more than 20 million euros, and involving more than 18 countries in Europe and beyond. No? All these projects, they've been developing educational and training programs for different target groups, from technicians, from school, from students in the schools, for safety officials, for firefighters, trying to encompass all the, let's say, modalities of education, in-person, e-learning, blended education, also including all the features, virtual reality, serious games, and so on, but also all the types, all the levels of education, from primary, secondary, tertiary, let's say formal education, or also professional education. No? This slide, I always keep it because I wanted to show you that we've been supporting education and training from the beginning of the existence of the JU, and over the last 16 years, we've been able to train more than almost 6,000 people in Europe in 12 different languages, 13 different languages, and it is, as you can see in the bar graph at the bottom of the slide, we are every year increasing the number of people involved in this kind of training. And this is just during the lifetime of the projects. The projects then continue after, they keep training people. One of the last initiatives that I think is very relevant for you to know is the last project that we have launched is the European Hydrogen Academy. It's focused on formal education, and here we're changing a little bit the approach compared to other projects. In this project, instead of making the teaching materials and delivering the teaching program as such within the project, we are focused on coordination and quality assurance. We're making sure that the project is providing teaching materials of good quality for other institutions, other organizations, make use of this information. So the focus is on formal education. It covers primary, secondary, and tertiary, university type of level. Everything will be accessible through a platform in which any user, if they are interested to learn, or any, let's say, organization is interested to get access to these teaching materials, they can register and get access to it. On public outreach, not to forget the other aspect of raising awareness, raising trust in these technologies. This is the goal of this type of activities. We've been supporting 2 projects. Mainly, I wanted to highlight the Hydrogène project, in which we did at that time the biggest exercise on social research on hydrogen technologies. They did a survey with 7,000 people in 7 countries. They did a lot of interviews, a lot of in-person and blended interviews, and they collected everything in 2 thick reports in which they assess how the average citizenship, let's say, how the European, the general public, they have the attributes, the perceptions, the perception and the familiarity with the technology. We have launched one project, indeed, last year. It's the HYPE project, which indeed we had a very nice workshop this morning as one of the site's activities, and they are also going to further investigate how the people understand the hydrogen technologies, how they perceive them, if they perceive them they are safe, or they perceive that they are unsafe, and so on, in order to see how we can really increase the awareness and, more importantly, increase the trust. As I said, apart from projects, we have different activities that we are running in the JU. One is related with the observatory. It's a web page that it's available online. Anyone can accessible. It's a repository with a lot of information on the market, but also a lot of information on standards, education, training programs, general information of hydrogen, and this is available for free for all of you, for all the sector. And the last, maybe I would like to highlight just the information from the activities that my colleagues from the communication, I think after the hard work over the last year, over the last weeks, with preparing the Hydrogen Week, I think they also deserve this moment. They have been working very hard. They are working hard day and night with the organization of this conference. They are also providing a lot of information and taking care that the web page is updated. We provide all the information we can through the web page, and as well, for example, last year they carry out this study on with a survey, in which we did a survey to understand to provide the baseline of what is the general understanding of the European, let's say, citizenship on these technologies in the last years. That's all from my side, and thank you very much for your attention. I would like to call to the stage now my co-moderator and Katarina Muse, who is regional and director of regional skills in Hydrogen Europe. Katarina, thank you very much for coming. And she will co-moderate from now on the sessions with the Q&A, and happy to have you here.
Let me see if this works. It works. Thank you, Alberto. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to see the room is full, despite I know many of you are eager to start with booth parties. So I do appreciate you still staying with us to hear more about what our esteemed panelists are doing when it comes to education, skills, and outreach. As Alberto mentioned in his introduction, my name is Katarina Muse. I work for Hydrogen Europe as a regional pillar and skills manager. And today I have the pleasure to co-moderate together with Alberto from the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. He also mentioned, and this is true, and we have seen this in many sessions that were taking place yesterday and today, skills have been emerging as a really key issue for our industry. And I do hope we all agree, and having you here in the room confirms that you do agree, that if we don't have well-educated, skilled workforce, not only for hydrogen, but for other clean technologies in Europe, we will never manage to achieve any of the ambitious targets we have set for ourselves, and we won't be able to be competitive compared to other geographies if we don't address this issue as well with equal level of seriousness. With this in mind, I would like to invite my wonderful panelists to join me on the stage. I'll start with Daniela Santopolo from DG GROW from the European Commission, who will be followed by Christelle Werquin from France Hydrogène. I would also like to invite Lorenzo Squintani, who is a professor of energy law of the University of Groningen. He gets the full description because I butchered his surname, but I will give everyone an opportunity to also introduce their roles and their activities when it comes to skills. Massimo Santarelli, if you could also please join us on the stage. And last but not least, Lauren Basson, another name and surname I managed to massacre, who is joining us from the International Partnership Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in the Economy. Now, I'm sure there is no better person to introduce them and their organization and the activities they do on skills than themselves. So Daniela, if I start with you, if you can please tell us a bit more about what is your role and what does DG GROW, they do when it comes to skills? And of course, closely linked and no pressure, but also when it comes overall to what the European Commission priorities are on skills, especially relating to the DG GROW's portfolio.
Is it on? Yeah. Thank you very much. First of all, hello to everyone, and thank you very much for the invite. I think it's very important to have this type of discussion at this stage, because as you were mentioning, I come from the DG GROW of the European Commission, and actually there's a very close attention to skills now in the political agenda. Of course, Alberto has mentioned the European Year of Skills. Now we have the political guidelines of President von der Leyen, who announced to boost any action that we do on skills through a union of skills. And then we have a lot of evidence collected into the Draghi report, among other sources, where it's clear that we have to bridge the skills gap. We have to really intervene and make an additional effort to provide the skilled workforce that we will need in the future. Now I will go a little bit more in the details of kind of the sector. So we know that, for example, we have very ambitious targets in the REPowerEU, and this means that we will need a skilled workforce in order to meet the manufacturing capacity that is demanded to meet these targets. All this we try to address in European Commission, DG GROW, but also the other DGs that work with us via the regulation, that is the Net Zero Industry Act, to boost the manufacturing capacity of net zero technologies in the European Union. And there, when it comes to skills, we have a full chapter, which is quite ambitious and quite important. This chapter announces the launch of Net Zero Industry Academies to train workers in a number of value chains, solar, hydrogen, raw materials, wind, batteries. These are crucial for the green transition, and in this sense, and then I will stop here because I think we have a lot to discuss. I think the most important thing that I have to say here is that the Net Zero Industry Academies, we will have a Hydrogen Academy that is building upon the existing project, and we will launch a second pillar of this project that will aim at training also the workforce, really in order to address this urgent need for workers in the sector in the EU. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, Daniela, for this introduction. You're absolutely right, and we will come back to this during the discussion, but maybe to put already a question in your mind. I think for many of the people sitting in the audience, if you can give them an idea, how can they get engaged with and how can they benefit from Hydrogen Academy, I think that would be a useful takeaway from this session. And would this be something that is guided by DG GROW, guided from the industry? You mentioned the links from the current existing projects, so I think that would be some good information for the audience to take home. Christelle, you're joining us from France Hydrogène, and please do introduce your organization as well as what is your focus when it comes to skills.
Thank you, Katarina. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. Actually, France Hydrogène, which I am representing today, is the French association gathering all the representatives of the hydrogen sector in France, from research centers to industrials to local and regional authorities. So it gathers around 450 members along the entire value chain. So I would like to give you maybe a brief overview of the way we have taken the topic of skills and training in France. When the French government launched its national strategy in 2020, skills and training and the importance of this topic in order to ensure the deployment of decarbonization of industry and transportation was identified as the third priority of the national hydrogen strategy. So this national strategy was designed to identify all the value chain, I mean, from the beginning to the downstream, and the skills and competencies and training. So in order to go further, there has been a program in France called the France 2030, who launched call for interest in the field of competencies and jobs for the future. And for hydrogen, 6 laureates has been nominated. France Hydrogène has coordinated a specific project called DEIA, and it was a kind of unique project probably in Europe, and this is an experience that we could share because it was the first time that we gathered the public employment services with the ministry, and specifically the Ministry for Education. And this was this integrated approach, gathering several stakeholders that has been very interesting for us, with a lot of feedback that I can maybe share with you. But this idea, the strength was the connection between initial and continuing training, education, and linking professional and academic training pathways. So I don't know if I have time now to maybe give you some feedback, or if you want me to develop later on.
I think later will be a perfect fit, because in a similar manner as with Daniela, I think the audience could benefit to see what were some of the outcomes from your project. We've been hearing, as I mentioned in the introduction, a lot that we need to do something on skills. Skills are important. We need educated and skilled workforce. By having a concrete example of how bringing together the industry, the national level, the regions, you could identify what are your needs and what are the next steps in order to address them. So we will be adding a bit of a teaser, but in the second round of questions, if you could provide us with a bit more details, that would be wonderful. Lorenzo, as I've mentioned, Professor of Energy Law at the University of Groningen. The same question goes to you. If you could introduce yourself and in particular those activities on skills and education coming, again, from a university perspective in this case.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation, for being here to speak about not so much myself or the University of Groningen either. I'm here to speak about the Hydrogen Valley Campus Europe, in which the University of Groningen collaborate with another 7 knowledge institutions from the northern part of the Netherlands, where we have, of course, the Hydrogen Valley of the Northern Netherlands, in order to provide what we call, for us is kind of unique, although there are more colleagues here that probably think that all their initiatives are unique, integrated approach for skills development, knowledge development, and also the ability for a company to test their idea with demonstration sites and facilities, and building the next phase of creating the new enterprises, the new company, new startups and scale-ups that will bring new innovation in the field of the hydrogen economy. And the Hydrogen Valley Campus Europe is a cooperation, is a program of now having a portfolio of 14 projects worth about 70 million euro, covering all these aspects that I was telling you, so knowledge, skills, entrepreneurship, and demonstration testing facilities. And the first phase of development of the campus was bringing together the various realities. because despite not being very big, the north of the Netherlands was, as many other regions of Europe, divided. We had many beautiful realities, but we were all working separate to each other, not creating the synergies that were required by the partners, societal partners, industry, and knowledge institution, and public institutions, for really making the next step in the development of a hydrogen economy. So we decided, let's come together, let's cooperate, and let's shift the perspective from demand-based, what we would like to do, to what are the needs of the industry and the companies in the areas. And exactly in that exchange of information continues through societal partners and the knowledge institution. We try to build the program that hopefully will also serve in the cooperation with the other knowledge institutions in Europe and across the world for really boosting the hydrogen economy worldwide.
Thank you, Lorenzo. I think we already started to see some common threads between your intervention, is bringing everyone together, bringing the industry, the universities, the national regional authorities, because this is something that we can't tackle alone, either as one of these entities. And the second thread, which as representative of Hydrogen Europe, I'm in particularly glad to hear, is reacting to the needs of the industry and developing and core-developing, I should say, training and educational programs together with the industry. So thank you for that. We will come back, of course, to the Hydrogen Valley Campus Europe as one of the examples of this practice. Massimo, as I mentioned, is the director of the HiSET Erasmus Mundus program. I will just give you a bit of a teaser because, and to say a bit of a praise, because it is the first master degree program that's dedicated solely for hydrogen. So if you can, of course, introduce yourself and your program, and how did you achieve to be the first master's program for hydrogen, that would, I think, valuable for those who want to follow in your footsteps.
I don't know how, but yeah, we just succeeded. But no, I started before, of course, teaching in the university. I'm involved in education. I do mostly research, so I coordinate the activity in electrochemical and thermocatalysis in my Atheneum and the laboratory, a research project with clean hydrogen. But in all this, I've been involved, I take historically, in some of the most important programs in education that has been mentioned before. We start from THI in 2017, where we developed a big number of material that is available. I am involved now in Green Skill for Hydrogen. You are also in the group. That I think is the most important initiative at the moment at the European level to individuate the skills, the needs. So going back to what Lorenzo said, we started from a survey at the point of view of industry to know which are the interests that they have, basically. Of course, there is fundamental research that can be out of the interest of the industry, but anyway, we have to face from the point of view of the market, so to satisfy this type of request. I am now involved in the Hydrogen Academy, which is more, let's say, not traditional in some higher education, so master and PhD, writing books as a concept, maybe not only with paper, but a book is a collection of informative material. And all this, we arrived at the end to propose a master Erasmus on the topic vertically on the topic of hydrogen. So we succeeded to get an Erasmus, which is is a dedicated verticality at the level of a master, specific on hydrogen technologies. How maybe I can consider this in the Erasmus are directly involved. It's not so common. Are directly involved 5 large companies that works in the area of hydrogen, not only the area of hydrogen but also in the area of hydrogen. So these large companies committed themselves in order to give to us input, seminars, workshop, information, needs, thesis, and so on and so forth. So this, I think, is one of the elements that give the success to this type of proposal. But yeah, maybe I think we have time later to discuss about this. So the strong involvement of academia, yes, but also companies. Yeah.
Thank you, Massimo. Once again, very much in line with the common threads today. And I do think in the second part of our panel, it would be good to hear from you, because the program has been running now for a year, if I'm not mistaken.
I said it's the second edition now, second cohort. So we did the first year, now we are in the second year. I can give you detail, of course, about, but yeah,
Maybe
just
for the
started.
second half, I'm just giving you your question in advance, because once again, I'm quite eager to have some concrete outcomes and best practices coming from this session. So I think for the audience would be interesting to hear what are some of the lessons you can already draw from the implementation of this program. Starting from, is there a huge interest from students? What is the students' profile? How are companies engaged? Do they feel that they're benefiting from it? Will they come back and maybe be interested in other similar programs? I think that would be an interesting insight to share when we start with our second round of questions. And last but not least, after hearing all different initiatives from the European Union, we go to the International Partnership for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells. Lauren, maybe for you, just to introduce a bit your organization and what is your involvement when it comes to skills?
I think many of you are familiar with the IPHE, or International Partnership for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in the Economy. I'm going to do it as briefly as possible, but it's a government-to-government network that is working actively to help accelerate the development of the hydrogen economy, and particularly to look at a proactive and means of removing any barriers that would prevent the hydrogen economy from developing. Under this partnership, there are a number of working groups, and task forces are created with a very particular focus and to resolve or address a particular challenge or opportunity. And the Skills Task Force was conceived end of 2022 and really got off the ground in 2023. The task force is quite a small task force. We have representation from Canada, Costa Rica, the EU, as well as South Africa, and have recently had a new member join, and that is the USA. We also have a number of observers, so both Germany and the USA have observed. So we're a small group of people with a huge task, but enthusiasm and force. So what we've done as an initial stage is to do a bit of a landscaping exercise. We really feel that a lot of the value of the partnership is learning from each other, and we have quite a diversity of countries with different stages of development, different emphasis. There's huge opportunity for cross-learnings between those countries. So at the moment, we're focusing on two outputs. One is a database of hydrogen occupations and associated skills, and that's not just focusing on the core value chain. It's also looking at those that contribute to the enabling environment. So what we've done is a bit of a metadata analysis in the sense that a large number of countries have either completed or are in the process of doing their own hydrogen skills needs analyses. And we're collating that into a database that will be searchable. So one will be able to look at what did, say, Australia think a chemical engineer working on electrolyzer production would need in terms of hydrogen skills. Was that similar to Canada? And over time, as this database, at the moment we're at the kind of adding the search functionality to it, we'll be able to start identifying similarities and themes and opportunities for standardization, but also for cross-learning. So that'll be available as a resource. We also realize that there's a large number of good practices out there. We're collating a guidance document, mainly as a source of inspiration and co-learning for people to look at what other people have done in terms of skills and workforce development right across our partnership. So we've collected data via survey, desktop research, additional interviews, and we're writing a guidance document around skills, a couple of themes: skills needs assessment, workforce estimation, looking at training and dissemination of training, looking at strategies for workforce development, diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, and transitions. And we're trying to highlight examples from all across the partnership that can serve as inspiration for others and opportunities to make connections and co-learn. And although we're still in the trenches of the data, if anything, I think there are two themes I'd love to discuss further, and that's quite a lot of what we're learning about practical hands-on training, as well as learning about networks with industry and setting up things for mutual co-creation of content and experience. So those would be themes I'd be keen to explore further.
Thank you so much. I think you will get some good practices here from our panelists today. And I would encourage you, of course, to exchange and connect with them. And as someone who, as Massimo mentioned, is taking part in Green Skills for Hydrogen, where we also started with a similar exercise, but focused on 13 European countries, I cannot even imagine the efforts in bringing the whole world and mapping as much as possible world countries and how much effort does this take. So really quite an undertaking for your organization. As promised, and Daniela, I go back to you and the question of, so how can we get engaged with Hydrogen Academy? Do we already have a timeline where we will be able to see some concrete outcomes from this project? I know it's closely linked with the project that's supported by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, but just to get some indications as to when can we expect a bit more information coming from the European Commission on this.
Of course, this is the question that is probably the most interesting for the audience, and my answer is very simple. The work will kick off in early 2025, but this means that starting engaging with the academy will be a bit later. Why? Because how do these academies work? These net zero industry academies that are basically regulated by the Net Zero Industry Act, including the hydrogen one. So they have the objective to train 100,000 learners within 3 years from their launch. So each of the academies will train 100,000 learners. It's a very ambitious objective, but we have already a very good result of the Battery Academy that achieved the objective, and this was launched in 2022, so almost exactly 3 years ago. And it is basically the first step. It is to really establish this platform for training the people and designing the learning content. And this is where we come to the interaction with the existing project, because the idea is that we will use basically what already exists. We will not duplicate the work, but at the same time we will pay attention that the training, the learning content, the trainings that are designed are very targeted to the workforce to respond to the REPowerEU ambition of 10 million tons of renewable hydrogen capacity manufacturing in Europe by 2030, and which is expected to create about 400,000 jobs by 2030. It's enormous. So the idea is that here we want to intervene at European level, otherwise we will not make it. The interaction is twofold. On the one hand, we would like the stakeholders, industry in particular, to participate in the design of this learning content, and it's important for us to ensure its quality and that it's marketable, so that it's commercially viable, so that it's really useful for the end user. And on the other hand, also, any entity that is providing education and training, and the entities providing education and training are different in member states, and depends on the member state design of education and training structure, that they uptake this learning content and teach it at, I always say, national, regional, and local level. We want to reach the whole of Europe. We want to have a functional value chain with a very efficient and up-to-date workforce all over Europe. This is the ambition, and this is how you can engage. For the Hydrogen Academy, you will have to wait until probably second quarter of 2025 for it to be ready to engage already for the part of training the workers indeed. I hope I answered.
You did, Daniela. Thank you so much. And It's also, I think, good to hear that you're not starting from scratch, that you are pulling in learnings and resources and data from other European projects that hopefully will speed up the timeline. And thank you, because you also gave a very good introduction into Christelle's question on what are the priorities and what are the outcomes of the projects you and your organization implemented in France, and what are some of the professions, if you can tell us, in France that are in high demand in hydrogen sector?
Well, actually, at the end of the project last year, we published a study on with the main outcomes, so I will come back on it right now. Another outcome was the collect and publication and the up-to-date collect of trainings in France, provided either by public or private organizations, and we have collected more than 300 type of trainings. So. And we are trying to maintain this database and publish it on a regular basis. Regarding the outcomes, more generally speaking, on the project, what are the feedbacks? First of all, the first idea is that one of the priority we have identified is that we have to support all jobs, categories and levels, and especially technicians, because we have identified that it represents more than 80% of the future needs, actually. Even if at the beginning we better need engineers or project developers, but in the end we will much need technicians. Another output was the idea that we have to pool resources and pedagogical expertise effectively, and that means fostering maximum linkage between various initiatives and projects. Also, we have to define specific H2 related competencies, incorporate them into general frameworks, and monitor their evolution closely with industrial partners. That is kind of idea that you provided better. And another point, very important, that we have identified, and it's in line with the type of development we experience in France with those regional ecosystems, H2 valleys that we have, is the coordination that is crucial between regional and national levels. The regions, they have the capacity for purchasing continuing education and promoting the attractiveness of training programs, and they are the main drivers on the ground, investing in long-term continuing education. While national level, they sets common standards and pool resources wherever possible. So that are kind of quickly main outputs that we have.
Thank you, Christelle. I can understand it's difficult to summarize, which I'm sure were months, if not years, of really hard work from your team. But I think it's also important what you're saying, that while your focus is national and regional, and what are some of the linkages with the work Daniela and DG GROW and European Commission are doing at the European level. And I think we can conclude that we do need cooperation and activities at each of these levels, because it's such a massive task in order to bring in all of these training programs into fruition at these levels and to prepare our workforce. You also provided a very good introduction to Lorenzo, because you mentioned the work that the regions in particular are doing around hydrogen valleys, because those are the areas that are emerging with activities across the entire hydrogen value chain, and as areas where there is a direct and immediate need for these types of training programs. So Lorenzo, you mentioned briefly about the Hydrogen Valley Campus Europe, and that it was designed to serve the North Netherlands. I was wondering, do you see this as a model that could be replicable in other regions, in other countries of Europe? And if so, what are the preconditions for this type of cooperation and this type of campus to exist in other places?
Thank you very much, Katarina, for the nice question. And first of all, I'm very happy to see so many partners in so many different projects supported by the Clean European Partnership, Hydrogen Europe, and the European Commission here present today. It's a kind of a reunion more than than another kind of gathering. Second of all, each of our experience are actually there to provide input information for other areas. So indeed, what we do in our masters, in our realities, can serve as a blueprint for other regions. I just came back from South Africa. I was actually speaking also with other countries about setting up cooperation between campus and focusing on hydrogen, and then also noticing the different realities which you have to cope with when you have to work on this kind of repetition exercises. And there the varieties really change on a region by region, reality by reality. In Cyprus, where we are doing the same activities, there is a complete different industrial background and different availability of the various partners throughout the value chain that needs to be taken into account. In South Africa, there is, of course, a complete different reality of the relationship between public and private, between knowledge institutions. We are prized to have cooperation with vocational institutions, with applied science university, with fundamental research university altogether, but in different realities, there are bigger steps that need to be taken in order to overcome that kind of hurdles. So at all the times, it's very important that the lesson that we learn, we make it available to the other, and that we listen from the other what are the differences, the reality in which they are operating in order to make our experience the most useful as possible for the other party. And I can simply say exactly what I said in South Africa last Friday, that the knowledge that we acquire here is not ours to keep, but it's ours to share at the service of the other. And there is also another important lesson I learned from South Africa, and that there are even areas in which we were not thinking of about skills development, but we need all to develop together. So it's not only one-side way. We learn from the cooperation with the other parties. I was there, a report was just published about how the Netherlands is going to South Africa to develop other countries a possible import agreements. But this is creating also some injustice somewhere in the value chain. So this just dimension of the green and just transition, it's also important to bring into the hydrogen economy transition. And this training and skills program that we are developing should also focusing on this justice dimension when we speak with our partners here in Europe. Katarina, back to you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. And once again, you make a very good point that the activities do need to be shared, lessons learned do need to be shared, especially those that have proved to be successful, even though we should not neglect the failures of projects and what we can learn from that as well. But I'm sure, Massimo, the master program is a success?
But yes, of course. no, in the sense, the interest in the topic is very high from the point of view of the applicants. So we received hundreds of applications from all over the world. So from this point of view, yes, then the number are very limited. This is one aspect. The number of the scholarship in an Erasmus are very limited. So this is one point. So I want to say, we are also trying to generate a sort of business case in order to maintain the master, not only to maintain, but also to enlarge the master, because the number are too limited. How to do this? First, we have, as I said, 5 large companies which are committed, are partner basically. And so they are willing to invest in the master also in terms of investment to pay scholarship. But apart this, we received a lot of requests from companies, but I can say from US to Japan, it's not only Europe, I mean, in order to be connected to the master. Because I think international is one of the very first that is starting on this topic. So I think it's a success for the moment. Then you raised it before the aspect from the point of view of the student. This is maybe critical because in some criticalities, because we decided to consider applicants from different domain of engineering, So from electrical to chemical, for example, to energy engineering, and also from chemical studies and physical studies. I see that what I want to say, hydrogen seems a vertical topic, but it's extremely horizontal, because at the end there is everything. From basic catalysis to system level, it's to management, it's enormous. So we decided not to avoid, not to concentrate too much on chemical engineer, for example. But this obliged us to make a very strong, fundamental aspect in the first year. So because anyway, the basic of electrochemistry, the chemical physics, the materials, catalysis, these are needed for somebody that wants to make innovation in the area, in the domain of hydrogen. As I said to the student, maybe in 5 years from now, the technology that we are using now will be not existing anymore. Maybe it's so fast, the transition, the evolution in technology. So maybe the fluorine will not be part of the polymer material for the future of electrolyzer. The ceramic will be different. What will not change in 5 years from now is the physical law, the law of physics and the law of chemistry will remain the same. At least this level of physics, not a superstring or something like this. But anyway, so this we have still to better understand how to organize, because 2 years at the end is 2 years. It's not enough to cover everything. So from the educational point of view, we still have to focus, and maybe Hydrogen Academy will help us to do something even better of what we are doing. Anyway, yeah, the company are satisfied because they are individuating very good student, probably for the future in the company. And the students, I think, are very satisfied. There are some students here. I think you are satisfied. I don't know. Yeah, we are obliged.
Them later.
Yeah, we are obliged to say this, but yeah, I hope also we are really satisfied.
That's good to hear, and welcome to the students from the ISET Master Program. Lauren, a question for you. I know you're really at the very initial level of analysis and data collection, but are there some common threads in all of these geographies when it comes to some of the needs they're experiencing now when it comes to hydrogen sector, and maybe some similarities in terms of future projection of what could be needed? I know it's not an easy question to answer, but if you're already noticing based on some of the research that has been done so far.
So interestingly, I think some themes that have been mentioned here have come up. And I think we've drawn both on the green skills for hydrogen as well as the DEFI project in terms of content, and then of course from elsewhere. But I think a lot of what is coming through is the emphasis for the need for hands-on practical training, and particularly in the kind of technician space. And I think the DEFI project very much showed the evolution of the kinds of roles you will need over time. Often, many of the studies just look statically, but I think what was good about DEFI was actually looking at how it shifts from kind of 80-20 kind of engineers, technicians, to an 80-20 of technicians to other professions. And I think one of the advantages we've got about having the opportunity to look internationally is we're also drawing on different contexts and different realities. I think some good examples to highlight, I've got about 7 examples I could highlight, but I'll pull out 2, is my co-lead from Costa Rica, Franklin Chang Diaz, has set up a hydrogen school in Costa Rica. I think what's interesting about that is that although a lot of what's happening internationally is looking at your traditional education in vocational education and university education, what Franklin is doing with his hydrogen school is drawing people who are school leavers. And I think that's often the reality for young people in a developing country context, that there isn't necessarily the luxury of going to some form of tertiary education. There's personal pressure to start earning an income. But those people can be drawn into the sector, and Franklin School does that very well, because he takes school leavers and trains them with the mindset of almost a pilot or somebody who operates a nuclear, is that these can be very complex technologies, but if you learn from standard protocols and you take people who have technical aptitude and discipline and train them in a kind of apprentice, very intense approach, you can train technicians that are highly sought by industry because they have a solid foundation, and particularly a solid foundation in disciplined work and safety. So what Franklin has, and it's a hydrogen school that many people are looking to replicate now in South America, and I know UNIDO is interested in it as well. The hydrogen school he has there has the whole process from renewable energy right through to the refueling of fuel cell buses. So I think it's that thing about looking at the context and looking slightly outside to start looking at, are there other people that we can draw into the sector, not just our standard look at our vocational and our university education. And I think the Costa Rican school is showing real success in that space. The other, and I think that's come through as well, is the really important conversation between industry and academia and other stakeholders around educational content. And I think there I'd like to just highlight what we've seen in America with the H2 Edge initiative, which is similar. It has a network of industry and a network of academics. The interesting thing that they're doing is that the academics and the industry partners co-create the content. They each teach to their own strengths. And that form of co-creating a course starts establishing a relationship, a flow of information between the industry and the academic partners. And one of the things they've recognized in academia is that there is not necessarily an unwillingness of academics to take on board the augmentation one might need in a course to be able to specialize for hydrogen. But it really is bandwidth. So there's been a real effort to make space for academics to engage in these programs as part of their own development. So making space for them to have the opportunity. And also what's been very established well there is mentorship from industry, so that the academics get an opportunity to actually learn about what's happening on the ground and have an industry person as a mentor. And I think it's that co-creation that sets up a kind of long-term flow of information between industry and academia that's quite critical to success. So those are just 2 of 7 examples I have on my lap that I could share where there's real innovation potential that we're hoping to share through the work of the IPHE.
That's actually, please do, and I'm sure many would like to hear about the other 5 and many more, which I'm sure you will identify. Unfortunately, Alberto is telling me we're running out of time, and he has a very ungrateful role of doing the closing remarks and introducing, as you called it, a surprise announcement.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, unfortunately, we could talk for hours. And I would like to give the floor as well to the audience to hear some questions from them, but the time is very limited. We have a special guest today, which I would like to call to the stage. Her name is Rebecca Maserumule from the IPHE, the chair of the IPHE, which stands for International Partnership for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in the Economy, who is going to share with us, as you wish, I think the podium, maybe, who is going to share with us some thoughts and I believe make an announcement, no? So, Rebecca, thank you for being here. I know your agenda is very busy. And please, the floor is yours.
No, thank you so much. I would first like to say thank you so much to Hydrogen Europe, to the Clean Hydrogen Partnership for the invitation to the European Hydrogen Week. This is one of the, I would say, premier events globally in hydrogen, and we're so proud that IPHE was given the opportunity to partner on a workshop. We had 2. One earlier and then now today. But the reason why I'm here is, every year since last year, last year we actually made 20 years as an organization in 2023. And then 2023, on the sidelines of the Hydrogen Americas conference, we actually launched a platform called Hy2DEIA. So Hy2DEIA is hydrogen, for those nerds of us here, and DEIA stands for diversity, equity, inclusivity, and accessibility. And what Hy2DEIA is, it's a platform to foster and promote a diverse, equitable, and inclusive and accessible global hydrogen economy through networking, mentoring, outreach, and data collection activities. So this initiative platform was launched by Hydrogen Council and IPHE last year in DC, and essentially looking always for new members. But and really the first activity that we did, we actually launched the website. So this website, H2DEIA, .org, you can go to. And then today we're proud to announce that we're launching an online mentoring platform. So when I saw the colleagues here, or the young students here from the first hydrogen master's program, I really initially thought about you thinking, this is an opportunity to register to be a mentor or a mentee. And what we're doing is, like I said, for most of us who are here today, we actually at some point in time had a mentor. Even that mentor told you about science or math or even how to dress or how to have conversations, but mentors are very important for our career development. So we're here to launch our online mentoring platform, and really, with the importance of technology, traditionally mentoring has been face-to-face, but the reason why we're going with an online mentoring platform is we actually have currently 500 members of our early career network across 40 countries. And it was really important for us to give access to mentoring. You can get a mentor from a laptop, an iPad, a cell phone. As long as you have an online technology, you can be a part of it. So it's an online system. You can log in, answer questions as either mentor or mentee, and the algorithm, a little bit of artificial intelligence, will match you with what the system thinks is your best mentor. So we're going to take the first cohort sometime over the next few weeks. So you'll be getting an email to get the opportunity to join as a mentor or mentee. And also, like I said, the key thing is that you're going to have an opportunity to match with people who are in different jurisdictions, different parts of the world, as well as different areas. And I think in the hydrogen IPHE members are all going to be mentors, and most times our members of IPHE have 20 to 30 years of experience in the hydrogen space. So I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. Hope I kept to my 5 minutes, hopefully. But thank you so much for the opportunity, and you'll be seeing an email soon to either join as a mentor or a mentee. And age does not matter. You can be a mentee even if you're in your 50s. Thank you.
Voila, perfect. Thank you very much, Rebecca. And with this, I think we've finished. I would like just to thank Katarina, very good, well done, the Q&A sessions, all the panelists for sharing with us the information. I'm very glad, and I think there are some commonalities like the involvement of research, industry, authorities in this endeavor, as well, that we need to tackle things at the local, regional, even national, at the EU level, and also very good welcome and congratulations for the announcement of the Net Zero Industry Act and the continuation on this sense. So that's it for today. Thank you very much, everyone, and please enjoy the rest of the event, and see you tomorrow at 9:10. I think it's at 10 sharp. Thank you very much.